International reactions to the Syrian Civil War ranged from support for the government to calls for the government to dissolve. The Arab League, United Nations and Western governments in 2011 quickly condemned the Syrian government's response to the protests, which later evolved into the Syrian Civil War, as overly heavy-handed and violent. Many Middle Eastern governments initially expressed support for the government and its security measures, but as the death toll mounted, especially in Hama, they switched to a more balanced approach, criticizing violence from both government and protesters. Russia and China vetoed two attempts at United Nations Security Council sanctions against the Syrian government. International peace plans. Since late 2011, peace plans or initiatives have been launched by the Arab League, Russia, and the United Nations. A UN-backed international peace conference, Geneva II Middle East Peace Conference, was scheduled for the 22nd of January 2014. Supranational bodies. United Nations 2011 statements. On the 18th of March, UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon described the use of force against protesters by the Syrian authorities as unacceptable. On the 22nd of March, UN Human Rights High Commissioner Navi Pillay urged the Syrian government to investigate the violence. On the 3rd of August, the United Nations Security Council, in a non-binding statement, condemned Syrian authorities for attacking civilians. In its first pronouncement on Syria since March, the statement, which did not threaten economic sanctions and lacked the full stature of a resolution, was disavowed by Security Council member Lebanon. Investigation on human rights violations. On the 22nd of March 2011, the Independent International Commission of Inquiry on the Syrian Arab Republic was set up by the United Nations Human Rights Council to investigate human rights violations during the Syrian Civil War. In September 2012, the inquiry's commissioners became Carla Del Ponte and Vidit Muntab-Horn. Security Council resolutions. The 4th of October 2011, Russia and China vetoed a Europe-drafted UN Security Council resolution condemning Assad's government. The resolution would have threatened the Syrian government with targeted sanctions given continued military actions against protesters. In December 2011, Russia introduced its own draft resolution, assigning blame to both the Syrian government and opposition, condemning Syria's brutal crackdown. On the 31st of January 2012, the Security Council discussed a Western Arab resolution that demanded an immediate halt to military action, supported the latest Arab League peace plan and called on Assad to cede power. On the 4th of February, Russia and China vetoed this resolution. A similar text was advanced in the UN General Assembly, which on the 16th of February 2012 endorsed this non-binding resolution. Russia, China and 10 other nations voted against it. Agreement on elimination of chemical weapons. On the 27th of September 2013, the UNSC passed United Nations Security Council Resolution 2118, which enshrines Syria's agreement to surrender its chemical weapons. Arab League Secretary-General Nabil El-Arabi called for an end to the violence on the 7th of August, specifically saying the Syrian government should stop all acts of violence at once. On the 27th of August, the Arab League condemned the crackdown and dispatched El-Arabi on an urgent mission to Syria. After meeting with Assad on the 10th of September, El-Arabi told reporters, "I heard from him an understanding of the situation and he showed me a series of measures taken by the Syrian government that focused on national dialogue. dialogue. November to December 2011. In early November, the Arab League announced that the Syrian government had agreed to end its crackdown, remove troops, release prisoners, begin a dialogue with its citizens, and allow observers and journalists free movement. On the 12th of November 2011, the Arab League voted to suspend Syria from the organization if al-Assad's government failed to stop military action by the 16th of November and invited Syria's opposition parties to join talks in the League's Cairo headquarters. Syria, Lebanon, Sudan, Mauritania, and Yemen voted against the action, while Iraq abstained. The League warned of possible sanctions against Syria. On the 16th of November, the Arab League suspended Syria's membership. On the 18th of December, the Arab League told Syria that it would convey its draft resolution by 5 Arab League members asking the UNSC to end the violence. If the Syrian government failed to comply within 2 weeks, Sheikh Hamad bin Jassim Al Thani, the Qatari Prime Minister and head of the Arab League Ministerial Committee, admitted, if the Syrian crisis is not solved within 2 weeks, the matter will be beyond the control of Arab countries. The Arab League on the 31st of August to the 1st of September 2013 called on the United Nations to intervene in Syria. European Union. On the 22nd of March 2011, Catherine Ashton, the High Representative of the Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, issued a statement saying that the European Union strongly condemns the violent repression, including through the use of live ammunition, of peaceful protests in various locations across Syria. Ashton reiterated the EU's condemnation on the 31st of July after military operations in the city of Hama resulted in at least 136 deaths. Ashton said on the 18th of August, the EU notes the complete loss of Bashar al-Assad's legitimacy in the eyes of the Syrian people and the necessity for him to step aside. Gulf Cooperation Council. In a 6th of August 2011 joint statement of GCC governments, the Gulf grouping criticized mounting violence and the excessive use of force which resulted in killing and wounding large numbers, and expressed sorrow for the continuous bloodshed. The statement also affirmed the GCC's support for Syria's security, stability, and unity, evidently a reference to the government's repeated accusations of outside interference. Organization of Islamic Cooperation. The 57-member OIC called for an immediate stop to the violent crackdown on the 13th of August 2011. In August 2012, at its 4th extraordinary session, the OIC voted to suspend Syrian membership. Bolivarian Alliance for the Americas. At a summit on the 10th of September 2011, the Alba Regional Bloc expressed support for the Syrian government and warned against an international military intervention in Syria. G8. The G8 leaders, on the summit in Northern Ireland, June 2013, hosted by UK Prime Minister Cameron, stated in their concluding declaration that the G8 countries endorsed the idea of the Geneva II peace conference, promise an additional $1.5 billion for humanitarian aid in and around Syria, call for the destruction and expulsion from Syria of all non-state actors linked to terrorism, as for example those affiliated to Al-Qaeda,